Hi, my name is Nathaniel, and today I will be talking about animal testing. My main claim is that using animals as test subjects helps scientists with their research significantly. My three main topics are: animal testing has contributed to many cures and treatments in the past. Animals have a whole body system that there is no other alternative for. And my third one is animals can be used for genetic research, which there is also no alternative. So, in the history of animal testing, there are many accomplishments made. Dogs were used to help with insulin research. Dogs and rabbits were used to help vaccine for rabies. Dogs were used to help make cardiac pacemakers, and mice were used to help penicillin. In the BBC article, mice were used for penicillin. Fleming found penicillin, but he did not know if it was suitable for humans, so they got a group of 50 sick mice, and half of them were not given penicillin and half were, and the ones given penicillin were saved. So out of that research, they said it was okay to give it to a human, and the first human patient given it was also saved. So it was safe to say that the research with the mice was indeed okay for humans. Also, out of the last 105 Nobel Prizes awarded for physiology and medicine, 2/3 of them were dependent on animal research. The last one being the scientist was using rats to help plan the map of the brain. My second point, animals have a whole body system similar to humans. There is no other alternative. This beats petri dishes because although they can take like a certain part of your body and put it in a petri dish, even though if they do fix it, but when they put it back in the body, it might mess up another part of the organ system. So it basically does nothing. Animals and humans are very similar in their genetic makeup, and they have the same organ systems. So if you put a drug in an animal, most of the time it'll also have the same effect, or kind of the same effect, in the humans. This is why using animals instead of petri dishes is superior than petri dishes. And also, some things cannot be made in petri dishes. So the only other alternative is to use animals, such as blindness. You can't put that in a petri dish. My third topic is animals can be used for genetic research. There are many genetic diseases that a mother or father will pass down to their son, and you can't really test for them or have any research for them because the descendancy is so little. So when you use mice, which only have lifespans of 2 to 3 years, you get like 10 generations, and that's in like 30 years, which will help significantly in understanding how it works. Also, mice inbreed, so they have the same genetic variation as their parents. So normally, a mother and a father will give 50% of their DNA to the child, but in mice, the mother and the father have the same DNA. So the offspring will also have the same genetic variation, which will help scientists because then they know all the variables and the equations. There will be no mutations, and they can get better research data off this. And also, they can also manipulate genes in mice, which they cannot do for humans because that'd be immoral. And also, many complex diseases that are prevalent in humans can also be found in mice. So we can use those mice to determine the risk of the disease passing on to the offspring and if it mutates and becomes stronger. So, in summary, animal testing has helped a lot in creating successful cures and treatments for many deadly diseases. Animals have a whole body system that can't be. There is no other alternative, which is superior to petri dishes, and animals can be used for genetic research. Thank you.
All right, Nathaniel, I think you've got some things that are really solid and then some things that are problematic. The solid things, you've got a clear statement of your proposition. That's excellent. There's a good layout of what the secondary structure is going to be. That helps quite a bit. In the body of the speech, the second and the third points were very clearly signposted. The first point you kind of jumped into. Now, we did just get a preview, so it's not that hard to follow along with what's being said, but I do think that you would want to have a clear declarative sentence on that particular point. So organizationally, you're doing a pretty solid job. The first point is the one where you have the best citation of evidence because you're relying primarily on examples to illustrate your point. Although there's no sources on any of this information, you do mention, for instance, all of the animal breakthroughs that we've achieved in the past, and I'm sure that they are valid and true, but where you found out about them is never indicated during the presentation. The notion that you give us the story about the mice and the penicillin thing, I know that story came from someplace, but at the moment it's just apocryphal. It's something that you heard somewhere. It's like on the streets. You picked it up and now you're sharing it with us as if it's true. And I don't know why you believe that it's true. The Nobel Prize data, that 2/3 of the people who won the prizes have used animals in doing their research. That's a nice piece of statistical information without a source to it. And so I think that's a little bit problematic. On the second point, you're basically taking some factual data that makes sense and explaining how it works, but it would be helpful if we had the testimony of some scientist who does this research who explains why it is that we need to work with whole body systems. Why? I mean, you say obviously we can't do a blindness study in a petri dish. You know what? I'm not sure about that. If the source of the blindness is some kind of infection that people get, if it is because of a genetic defect, you might very well be able to discover that in a microscope or in a petri dish or something along those lines. So I think you need to have clearer proof on those particular points. I'm not saying that your argument is wrong. I'm just saying that I don't think that you've given us sufficient grounds to believe those particular claims. The genetic research, I think you explained pretty well the notion that we have multiple generations within a short amount of time, which allows us to do better research. And it sounded to me like there was a good example up with that Nobel Prize winner talking about genetic research, also a pattern, mapping the patterns of the brain. I think that's a good illustration. Maybe you could tie that into this particular point, but there have to be some other arguments on this as well. You do get a little bit into a morality issue at one point, but I understand the idea here is that we have to depend on animals to do this research rather than human beings. The problem is that people who believe that animals have equal rights to human beings would say, why? Why don't we just test on human beings instead of animals? We're the ones who are going to get the benefit of this anyway. Like I said, I think that there's a value argument that's crept into your position here that's a little bit problematic. I thought you had a good summary of what the main points were at the end of the speech, and the weakness is the introduction of evidence into the argument. All right, thank you.